Hello, I'm David Pelton-Cox. What you're about to see is a story of an immigrant family. They are my family. It is a story of immigration, emancipation, and survival. It begins in Edinburgh, Scotland, and continues across this great country that we now know as America. Emancipation. Ask any high school student in America today what emancipation means to them, and they'll mention things like Abraham Lincoln, slavery, the Emancipation Proclamation. But for many Americans, emancipation represents so much more. With my family, and that story starts here at the foot of Mount Mestus from a photograph that I saw 8 years ago. Emancipation is represented by immigration. My family came from Scotland back in the 1880s. They emancipated themselves from whatever life they had in Scotland and came to America looking for liberation, liberty, that American dream. And they found it here in the southern Colorado coal mines.
In 1882, 5-year-old Isabel Topping boarded a ship with her mother Elizabeth and 2 other siblings. A year later, 25-year-old William Sneddon boarded the SS Bolivia in Edinburgh, bound for New York City in a new life. There are no records indicating why either of them and their families came to America. It is safe to assume, since many Welsh and Scottish men worked in British coal mines, that William had been either hired on prior to leaving Scotland or knew something of the opportunities awaiting him in the United States. Still, one must believe, like many other immigrants, they were chasing their idea of the American dream. Like millions of others, Isabel and William would have passed through Ellis Island. They would have been checked, inspected, and stamped worthy of becoming new, naturalized Americans. By 1891, both Isabel, who would have been 14, and William, 33, had found their way to Walsenburg, Colorado, married, and started a new life as new Americans.
I'm sitting at the side of the old YMCA building at what used to be the Ravenwood Mining Complex. This mine operated from 1904 until about 1940 under a variety of different names. Over 1.5 million tons of coal came out of this mine. It was here in the latter part of the 1890s and the early 20th century that a Scottish coal miner began his own legacy, a legacy of emancipation, a legacy of liberation, one that established my family's legacy, which has been typical throughout what we now call America.
Life in the coal camps was not so oppressive as our stereotypes often tell us. Family and community ties and leisure pursuits all were means of exercising autonomy and of easing an otherwise difficult existence. But there was no way to ease the harshness of life underground, in the mines themselves, and it would be hard to overstate the perils men faced when they were down there. Here, our stereotypes hold all too true. Coal mining was indeed a dangerous and physically draining occupation. Through these difficult times, the Sneddon family survived and raised several children, including my grandfather Raymond.
Over the next 50 years, various members of the Sneddon clan would mine coal throughout southern Colorado. But as coal mining slowly died out, many went on to pursue other careers. On November 15, 1935, here at the site of the Oho mining town, my mom, Nellie Joyce Sneddon, was born to Raymond and Thelma Sneddon. This is where my legacy began.
The life of a coal miner produced other challenges as well. Alcoholism ran rampant and all too often broke up families. Nellie Joyce was passed around from family member to family member. Eventually, she herself experienced her own emancipation that led her to California, where I was born some 58 years ago.
My story concludes here in front of Pine Creek High School in Colorado Springs, where I teach history and try to encourage my students to find their own story. The Sneddon clan is now dispersed throughout the country, as the early pioneers have now passed on. Still, their legacy remains in their many descendants. I'm David Pelton-Cox, and for the Teaching American History grant, have a great day and find your own story.
Let me tell you that